was strong, and I'd like to take the time right now to double down because I feel just like that.
Do it.
Clown faces.
About time, Michael. This is what I've been waiting for.
All right, Don, what was your question?
All right, you were talking about Stearns, and he hadn't won in Milwaukee. But I believe that this is the way of the world with the analytics and how teams are built. If Brian Cashman was hired to be the Mets general manager, would he be doing anything differently?
I don't know. I think, you actually brought up a good point earlier. I've been indoctrinated with the Yankee way for my whole life. So I think Brian Cashman would go there and try to win every single year. I think he'd try to build something sustainable. That's what he's tried to do with the Yankees.
He's never
and for the most part, other than last year, next man up worked out.
He's never had to rebuild teams.
Yes, he did.
Well, when?
When he traded Chapman and Miller, he rebuilt on the run.
But he still had...
But the team was competitive.
You're right. They were competitive because they were able to call up Aaron Judge. At the time, Sanchez, who was a highly touted prospect and actually had a very good close to the 2016 season and the beginning of 2017. But if Brian had taken over as the Mets general manager, if the Yankees let him go last year and the Mets gobbled him up, I don't know if he'd be doing anything different. Because you want to rebuild the farm system, which is starting to build. I mean, I'm getting tweets from people saying it's already in the middle of the pack now, and it's starting to build and getting better. That, I don't know, the one thing Brian Cashman doesn't usually do, Michael, is give any amount of money more than he believes somebody is worth. That's kind of his staple. So I don't know if he'd go out there and hold his nose and sign people unless he was under an edict from management to do it. Like you saw what happened in 2009. I don't think he wanted to sign Mark Teixeira.
Well, he did.
But he needed the permission from the...
Yeah, you work with the owner's budget.
Right, but and he
told Hal, you know what, this will do it. And he was right. It did it. Won him a championship.
But he doesn't go out and get anybody that he doesn't want to get. He doesn't spend more money than he wants to spend. He's pretty shrewd, much to the Yankee fans' chagrin sometimes. So you can kill Stearns for maybe being inadequate doing it this way because he's coming from the small market mentality in Milwaukee. I think he's coming from the analytic mentality that most baseball people have, led by guys like Brian Cashman. I don't think it would be much different.
I get it. And we've always had that debate. Does Brian really want to be the GM of the Kansas City Royals to see how smart he is?
Right.
But he's got the Steinbrenner family's money. David Stearns can't be totally analytic. You've got to take advantage of your advantage, and your advantage is Steve Cohen's money. You got to be able to do that. The Dodgers do it with the Guggenheim money. Now, I look at the Met payroll right now, and you know where it went wrong? And I'm going to talk about a player that I really like. And I think he's excellent. Mm-hmm. They went off the rails giving Lindor that money.
Of course they did.
He's not worth $34 million. If he was a free agent today, he would not get $34 million a year.
And that was pre-Stearns, and I'm sure if Stearns was here, he probably would say, do we really want to bid against ourselves and give this guy
And they bid against themselves.
Right.
They should have let him play that year and then let him go to the free agent market.
Exactly.
They got him for 8 more years. 8 more years at $34 million a year. So some of the mistakes that Cohen made in his excitement of building a team right away, it's haunting them right now.
But I'm going to spin it as a positive, even though you're 100% correct, is that, they now have an all-star shortstop.
Right.
That is going to be here, hopefully, when this team turns the corner, which I think can be next year, that you still have a shortstop in his prime. The question's going to be about Pete Alonso. What do they do? Like the caller had before, why don't they spend for him? I don't know if they want to because, again, you don't even think he's worth $40 million. That's what he's going to be asking for. And will Cohen go a little bit over just because he's an original Met? Or will they just stick to their guns? Pete Alonso is not the perfect player. As much as I like him, and I hope he stays, he's not the perfect player, and he's also not going to get $40 million a year. So why should the Mets give it to him? Maybe they'll be able to get him cheaper. And if he does get $40 million, I think the Mets are very comfortable saying, okay, go have fun. Because we're not going to pay you that. Well, I don't think there's anything wrong, even when you're a billionaire. Just because you're a billionaire doesn't mean you go and spend $1,000
Let me ask you this. If the Mets are on the periphery of getting the last wild card spot in July, and it's not a team that's going to make a run, now you could look at it that way. Because you have to be able to self-evaluate better than people evaluate you. And you know you're not signing Alonso to the deal that he wants. Would you trade him?
I need to see what they're getting in return.
Right.
But they were talking about this on the morning show, where Dave is like, you're going to have to trade him. The problem is what happened with the Arizona Diamondbacks last year. Like, every Met fan is going to look at any possibility of making the playoffs that you might be able to make a run to the World Series. So I don't think the fans would want to see that happen. Now, does Steve Cohen have to listen to the fans or do what's best for the organization? I think they'll trade him. If they don't believe they've got a World Series team, I think they'll trade him. But it could backfire from the fan standpoint because we've seen wild card, not very good teams. Heck, before the wild card, the Mets were barely a 500 team in 73 and should have beaten the Oakland A's and won a World Series. Yeah. I think they'll probably do what's best for the organization, but it could backfire, Michael, because I think a lot of the Met fans that are on board with this rebuild are going to look at a team that could make the playoffs and take a knee on it for prospects and say, we could have been the Arizona Diamondbacks. Why are we taking a knee on a possible World Series? It could be a very difficult sell.
But really, you know what? They did, even without Stearns there, they did it last year. They took a knee on a wild card.
They weren't good, Michael.
But
they were not good.
You trade away your two best pitchers.
But they ended up getting hurt anyway.
Right.
And I think they knew that there was that possibility. And
well, if they knew they were going to get hurt, then it was.
They weren't going to make a run, Michael.
How do you know?
Because
how many games? What they finish with? 78 wins?
Yeah.
The Diamondbacks had 84.
All I know is at the time of the deal, I think they absolutely did the right thing, and they were proven right because of the injury situation.
Let's go to Matt in Long Island City. Matty.
Hey, guys. I want to jump on the Michael contradicting himself bandwagon.
Oh, no.
Michael, I think you're kind of acting like the Yankee callers that we all hate. I like to call them the George woulda callers. The George would have done this.
Yep. What would George do?
Done that.
Yep.
Yeah. Because, on the one hand, you're saying that Mets fans should want Steve Cohen to act like, Steinbrenner Jr., but then when the annoying Yankee callers, expect Steinbrenner Jr. to act like Steinbrenner Jr., you say, well, it's a different league now. You can't have a George Steinbrenner now because of these very punitive damages. So it does come off, and I'm a Yankee fan. It comes off contradictory.
But if it comes off contradictory, then I'm not really articulating myself the right way. So I'm glad you're pointing it out. I'm saying, I didn't say that he should be Steinbrenner Jr. I said that when he bought the team, Met fans thought they were going to get the reincarnation of George Steinbrenner. That's sincerely what they thought. And my point is, if you're the New York Mets, the one advantage that you have over every other team is the wallet of Steve Cohen. So if you're going to diminish that and eliminate money as your advantage, then what's the difference? What's the difference if Steve Cohen owns it or Joe Schmo?
Well,
I mean, obviously Joe Schmo's going to have a lot of money, but he's not going to have $20 billion.
But we've already seen the effect of Cohen by buying out those contracts of Scherzer and Verlander.
Oh, okay.
Wilpon wouldn't have done that. I'll tell you what Wilpon would have done. Wilpon would have sold the fan base that they still had a chance to make the playoffs, held on to those two pitchers. They would have gotten hurt. They would have gotten nothing for them. They still would have finished under 500 and now have those two albatrosses around their neck to start this year. Oh, by the way, both of them starting the year on the IL. That's what would have happened with Wilpon. Didn't happen with Cohen. He used his money. He flexed his muscle to get out of that and build the minor league system. And if some fan thought they were getting George Steinbrenner Jr., that's on them. He said it at the press conference. He wanted to rebuild the minor league system. We've been waiting on Stearns for 2 years for him to get out of his contract. So if you thought you were getting something that he's not, that's on you.
But everybody thought that the money was going to be a difference maker because the Wilpons didn't have money because of Madoff.
And I think it's been a difference maker just by what happened with Scherzer and Verlander. And you're going to see that difference in 2025 when they're going to be major competitors for some of the best free agents in the league.
My only point is that he flexed his money muscle by out-buying his mistakes.
Yeah, so
he didn't make the team better.
But that's part of it, right? Is out buying your mistakes. So part of being a big market team is that when you make a bad deal, you get up from it. Back in the day, and I'm trying to remember the time frame, but back in the early 2000s, the Yankees need a DH. All right, we'll go out and get Glenn Allen Hill. Oh, that didn't work. We'll go out and get you could throw a bunch of money and have it make up for mistakes.
What would they do? I happen to like personally and as a player, Harrison Bader.
Right.
And by the way, sometimes the Yankees rules save people from themselves.
What do you mean?
Harrison Bader has like a whole full red beard. Doesn't not look. I mean, he looked stunningly model handsome when his face was clean.
And now he looks like you.
And now he looks like, kind
of like you.
Like me.
Not what you want.
So, you think Clay Bellinger is a better center fielder than Harrison Bader? Cody. I keep saying Clay.
Yeah.
You think Cody Bellinger's better? Would it make the Mets better?
Yeah.
All right, so you didn't go that route, and that would have been a 5-year deal, 6-year. And you're right, nobody signed him yet.
Well, because maybe they don't want to give him that many years.
But why? If money is no object.
Because why would? But I'll give the same analogy. Just because I'm a billionaire means I got to go and spend $1,000 for eggs?
No, I'm not saying.
Why can't I just spend the money the way that I want to be able to spend it?
I understand.
Nobody's touched this guy. So why are the Mets the bad guy when nobody else is giving him a contract?
They're waiting for the money to come down. I understand because, as I said, I've said this 100 times. All of Boris's clients that are out there have warts. But you can't say that you're not a better team with Cody Bellinger than you are with Harrison Bader at center.
But again,
and also that would be your first baseman if Alonso leaves.
But
it's a perfect player for you.
But if they don't want to sign him because they don't think he's worth the money, I just don't understand why a guy that's got more money than everybody, that means it's okay for him to overspend on things that he doesn't want to spend it on. Like I said, I'm having the best party going. I got to go spend $1,000 for eggs just because I can? Why can't I just make good baseball decisions? And so Steve Cohen's guilty. Nobody else is signing Bellinger to that contract, but Steve Cohen's the guilty one because he's got the money.
But you're saying the eggs analogy, and I'm going to use, I'm going to serve meat at my party. I could either serve Salisbury steak or I could serve Chateaubriand. You would think that if you went to Steve Cohen's house, he's serving Chateaubriand. He's not serving Salisbury steak. That's the difference. Eggs are eggs. That's the price. I'm not asking him to overpay for eggs. I'm asking him to get a better grade of meat. A better grade of meat is Bellinger.
In your opinion.
You don't think Bellinger's better than Bader?
I do, but now you're talking about a 4 or 5 year contract. I got a much affordable player that's going to get me through, and then we'll see what they do with him down the road.
Let's go to Nick and Nutley.
Yeah, hello.
Hey,
guys.
Nick.
Thanks for taking my call.
You got it.
Thank you, guys. All right, real quick. I'm kind of siding with both you guys on this Met and what they should go out and do. However, if you recall, David Stern, during a press conference, said, we got to see what these young guys can do. What we got them for. Vientos, Alvarez, Beatty, all these guys. We got to see what they can do. So my take is they'll see what they can do, and that predetermines what they're going to do for next year. I'm not saying they're stars.
I think you're right, Nick. But trying to find out if 3 kids can do it, 33% of your team, that's asking a lot. So the Yankees last year wanted to see what Volpe could do. They didn't have every other kid in their farm system come up. I mean, a good system integrates young players. They don't put them all out there. Now, if those 3 players end up making, I think Alvarez will, then you know what? It's a home run. If they all don't make it, then you know what? You just wasted the year.
No, but now you know what you've got to go out and get.
But you wasted the year.
At it, but no, but why is evaluation a waste of a year?
Because you might not win while you're evaluating.
So.
But it's a year that's gone.
But I see. This is where we fundamentally disagree. I'm using this evaluation process. You're telling me to go out and get players to replace the young guys that I have, and now I won't be able to see what I have because they're not going to be able to play. If I sign a third baseman, that means Beatty doesn't play. All right. If I sign a DH, Vientos doesn't play. Mm-hmm. So then maybe I do have a possible star. Now he doesn't play, and I'll use the same analogy I did earlier in the show. If they had done that with Alvarez, that great year he had last year doesn't happen. What if they went out and signed a catcher for a year, and then he sits and watches, and now you don't know. Now they're actually thinking of extending him based on what he was able to do.
One thing that I would lean on your side, every time they've made any kind of play with big money, they struck out. I mean, they signed James McCann, rather than JT Realmuto.
Right.
And they gave Francisco Lindor $341 million. And they didn't work out right. And Scherzer and Verlander.
And the good thing is that now that was pre-Stearns. So now they've got a guy that hopefully won't make those types of mistakes.
But I don't blame Billy Apple because I think he was being pushed by Cohen.
Right. And now you brought in somebody that could be the brains of the operation, baseball-wise, and point it in the right direction. That's how George got turned around. Everybody talks about George Steinbrenner, right? All the money that he spent, the bad trades, and then eventually when you got good baseball people in there, it turned things around. I mean, just because Cohen's a billionaire and a Met fan doesn't mean he's going to make smart baseball decisions. Now they might have a grown-up in the room to make the right decision.
Well, the best thing that happened to the Yankees was that when they hit rock bottom, and that's what happened to the Orioles. But I don't think the Mets and Cohen, who's 65 years old, wants to go through a 5-year rebuilding process.
First of all, I don't think it's going to take 5 years when you're going to be able to spend the money in free agency next year. And again, I understand last year
But I
got
don't
away from
understand
them.
why you
I've
keep-
got Diaz back. I've got another year of Senga. I've got all-stars in the
But
infield.
why are you looking at next year as a panacea? Why couldn't it be this year? You keep saying, well, who? There are players that would make you better.
Well, but I think they really I think they're going to be all in on Soto. I think they're really going to be all in on him, and then we'll see what they do with Pete Alonso. I think they'd like to re-sign him and make sure they could be in competition for him. And I don't see why next year has to be. I don't see a championship, but why can't it be a fun year? I mean, they've
This
got
year, you
talent.
mean?
Why can't this year be a fun year? You've got your catcher, you got your first baseman, you got your second baseman, you got your shortstop. All right, there could be a hole at third, but I've got players coming back from injury. Mm-hmm. You don't think that this team can be?
I don't think they have enough starting pitching.
I don't
think their offense is terrible. I don't think their defense is terrible.
Maybe they get lucky.
I think their starting pitching.
It's not like Severino hasn't pitched well in Major League Baseball. He has.
Absolutely.
Quintana can be a really good starting
And
pitcher.
you're putting
Senga
a lot
could
on
be
Manaea.
better. You know, so there are things that can come together, and I do believe that this team gets off to a really good start. I think they could pivot again and maybe be in competition instead of selling at the deadline. But getting pitchers, I really think this can be still a fun, competitive season. I don't see a 100-loss team here.
Let's go to Edwin in Stony Point.
How are you doing today?
Good, you?
Good. First of all, Peter, you look amazing. Don and Teal, never seen a man dress better. Michael, it's a blessing and curse. You with the stubble, man, you got a Nick Cannon level of kids right now. It's crazy.
It's awful. It's awful. Come on, Edwin. It's hideous. I'm a hideous mess.
I'm looking at your screen right now. You look amazing.
You know what? You know what you just did?
Edwin, very sloppy.
Edwin, you know what you just did?
What did he do?
He ruined the compliment to me. I can't even accept what he just said about me. After he said that your stubble look, I'm just being honest with you.
No, my stubble looks
I wish
awful.
I could shave my face. I don't like how my face looks clean shaven. Your face is meant to be clean shaven. You look like trash.
You see, Edwin? You see?
I'm on this.
But you know what? I lost the bet.
because he lost the bet.
I lost the bet. It's supposed to hurt, and it hurts.
Well, we're not at the Pusick yet. The Pusick will be hideous. We all know that.
The whole way is going to be
it's going to be awful. All right, what do you got, Ed?
All right, Michael, you made a point about the Mets saying that we had hitters that to string a lot of hits together, and that's not going to get you a win. But we have the pop hitter with Alonso. Well, we shouldn't sign him again. He's our best pop hitter. Are we going to get more pop in the next couple of years?
No, I'm not saying that. I don't think the Mets want to sign him, Edwin, because he hired Scott
not for the
Boras
money that he wants.
Because he probably wants Aaron Judge money. And now I'm going to sound like Yankee boy, and that's fine. He's not Aaron Judge. He's not the player Aaron Judge is. Aaron Judge is one of the best hitters in baseball. Pete Alonso is one of the best power hitters in baseball. Aaron Judge combines being a power hitter with a great hitter and a high on-base percentage, and he also is a plus defender. Pete Alonso doesn't play a plus defender position.
If I had to bet, I would think we're going to fast forward to February 21st, 2025, and Pete Alonso's still going to be unsigned. I think it's going to go the same way it's going with a lot of Boras clients this year. He's going to be asking for the moon and the stars, and we're going to get deep into spring training next year. He's not going to sign. And so is Steve Cohen going to look like the bad guy if he doesn't sign him and nobody else is? Or is that the writing on the wall that maybe he's not worth the money he's asking for? And because he's a billionaire, does that mean he now has to be the one guy to pay more money to Pete Alonso than anybody else?
No, but you do pay a premium for your homegrown guy, and that
I agree with. That I agree with, and I think maybe they'll go slightly higher. But does that mean he wants $40 million a year? Nobody's willing to pay more than 34, 35, and that he's got to be the one to pay the extra $5 million? Or he'll go, you know what? I'll go 36 for Pete Alonso, but I'm not going to go 40. Everybody else is smart, and then he's stupid because he happens to be the richest guy in the room?
All right, what is your favorite team worth? Who are the top 5 teams in terms of value? We'll tell you when we get back. When I'm getting ready for a game,